I've written a book. It took me a long time to choose a title. The title I selected is called Terror by Quota. The reason I use that term is that Stalin introduced a new form of political repression which used quota systems. If you think about it, that's very interesting, because a normal criminal justice system will define what is a crime. If someone commits a crime, the criminal justice system is supposed to catch that person, and the courts are supposed to punish the person. Stalin did not take that approach. Rather, he said that, in my view, in Stalin's view, there must be political criminals out there, and you should tell me, say you're the local police or the regional police or the regional NKVD, you must tell me how many criminals there are in your region. You tell me the number, I'll look at the number, and then I will give you an order as to how many people I want you to kill or put in jail. And we call these quotas. In Russian they call it limity. Stalin used limity to punish his perceived enemies twice. Once was during Collectivization, which began in 1929 and was largely completed by 1932, and he used quotas in the period 1937-38, which was the period of the Great Terror. In each case, he divided the Soviet Union into regions, and he gave the regional leaders quotas. In the case of Collectivization, the quotas were how many to shoot, not terribly many, how many to put in jail, more, how many to deport to remote regions. It's somewhat hard to calculate the number of people who were punished by these quotas during Collectivization, because some of the punishments were for persons, the others were for families, and in most cases it was families. So if you think about this, this is a rather remarkable thing where you're punishing not a criminal, but a whole family. And the peasant families that were punished, supposedly the more wealthy, called kulaks, usually were 5 or 6 people in the family, most children, of course. So here you have a leader who has declared a family an enemy of the people, subject to deportation. So in all, probably around 3 million people were subject to this deportation to what were called special settlements, which were different from the Gulag camps because the whole family was imprisoned in the special settlement. The children had to work alongside their parents. The parents were paid a little bit if they fulfilled their quotas, but their quotas were very difficult. So the children, if the children did not help, the parents would not meet their quotas and they would be punished. So that's the first use of terror by quota. Execution was not the preferred method of punishment during that period. 1937, July, Stalin sent out a telegram to 65 regions saying, "It has come to our attention that enemies are collecting in your regions, you should look at your records and tell me how many enemies are living in your region. And you should divide them up into very dangerous enemies and less dangerous. So category 1 and category 2. Category 1, they should be shot. And if you read the order, to be shot was put in capital letters. The others should go into the gulag. This telegram went out in early July. The 65 regions had to calculate how many people they could kill or put in gulag. And they sent back telegrams to Stalin. Western Siberia, for example, said, we think we can kill 20,000. And these telegrams were gathered, and Stalin met with his head of NKVD, Yezhov, and they came up with an order which was sent out July 30 with the quotas, the limity. The Great Terror began a few weeks later, where each of the regions had to kill or imprison this number of people. Now, if you think about it, it's not easy to kill that number of people that quickly, because this was supposed to be completed in 3 months, as I recall. In order to do it, and do it properly, you had to have some paperwork. And they set up troikas, which were, we would call them in English, kangaroo courts, where the troika would meet, say, once a week, and they would handle, say, 500 cases at once. So there's no way to look at the victims, no way to interview the victims. They would just approve the list. And the death sentence was called Vypiska iz protokola troiki. And so your death sentence, they would take scissors and cut out a few lines, paste it on official order, and that was the death sentence. There was no appeal, and usually the sentence was carried out within 24 hours. This is the reason I chose the title Terror by Quota. It's very important to study these things, because if you look at the victims, and by the way, the number of victims in 15 months was something like 900,000 executions and about the same number of gulag sentences. Some people in Russia would like to say, well, these were enemies, these were bad people. But if you look at the statistics, and they stopped gathering the statistics very quickly when it became apparent what they showed. The statistics show these are ordinary people, farmers, factory workers. These were not political people, they were not enemies of the people. So here you have a regime which, for no good reason, killed almost 1 million people in 15 months. There was some academic research done about who caused this to happen and why it happened. Some thought maybe Stalin was not to blame, that there were other reasons for doing it. But now that we have the full records, it's clear he ordered it. He stopped it when he wanted to stop it, which was in November of 38. So somehow a large percentage of the Russian population, maybe 40%, evaluate this monster as a positive character in history. To me, it's incredible that this can happen. These are not particularly secrets. They're well established by all the official records. So whether it's a lack of dissemination of information, whether people don't want to know, I don't know. But this is, in my view, incredible. I think it also gives some justification for a non-democratic regime in current-day Russia. The fact that Russia needs a strong hand, that strong hand causes Russians to do good things. So this research is academic research, but it has a huge political importance. So what I don't know is why the Russian people either are not interested, maybe they don't want to hear such bad things, but it's very important that this be repeated.